the hidden network of power, shocking allegations, and explosive testimonies. Sean "Diddy" Combs, a cultural icon, entrepreneur, and music tycoon, has consistently portrayed himself as a figure of untouchable celebrity, style, and power. However, the federal prosecution against him is entering its most intense phase in 2025, and that meticulously curated image is being torn apart in real time. Luxury mansions, undisclosed settlements, late-night parties, and disquieting testimonies. The courtroom is now the site of some of the most astonishing evidence ever disclosed regarding one of hip-hop's most renowned figures. Black and white court documents, witness statements, and affidavits are now being used to present what was previously whispered in hearsay. The world is observing the revelation of decades of alleged misconduct, concealed connections, and dark secrets. Opening scenes. The trial commences. The trial commenced with the type of buzz that is typically designated for blockbuster films. Media agencies camped outside the courthouse. Paparazzi awaited to capture glimpses of Diddy's legal team entering. However, this was not a matter of capturing a photo. This was a matter of survival, as it concerned his freedom and reputation. Prosecutors initiated the proceedings with a flourish. Their objective was unambiguous: to demonstrate that the music empire, which was characterized by ostentatious suits and diamond chains, was the result of a pattern of criminal behavior, coercion, and manipulation that had persisted for more than a decade. The court was immediately engulfed in a series of startling allegations that not only involved Diddy, but also purportedly implicated associates, bodyguards, and even executives from the music industry's inner circle. The evidence, the jury's observations and hearings. The prosecution's disclosure of surveillance footage from one of Diddy's properties was one of the most critical moments of the trial. This was not a typical video. It depicted the entry and departure of numerous individuals from a VIP suite situated beneath one of his private Los Angeles residences. A rotation of individuals was disclosed in the footage, which was authenticated and time-stamped throughout a single long, unsettling night. The videos were accompanied by forensic reports that revealed the presence of controlled substances such as MDMA and ketamine in glassware that were retrieved from the suite. The prosecution argued that these rooms were used for unregulated, clandestine events that blurred the line between consensual and coerced behavior. And fingerprints and DNA matched known associates of Diddy. However, this was not the only instance. Key emails, encrypted texts, and voice memos were presented on a TOB hard drive that was confiscated during a federal search in 2024. Coded references to events described by witnesses, hush money transfers, and cleanup crews were all apparent in certain texts. The prosecution regarded these as the digital breadcrumbs of a much larger conspiracy, while the defense characterized them as vague and circumstantial. To testimonies, from loyalty to betrayal. The Bokter Intrug, the parade of former insiders, once passionately loyal, now turned witnesses, has been perhaps the most captivating aspect of the trial. A former backup dancer detailed an incident at a party hosted by Diddy in 2016, which was one of the most widely discussed testimonies. She described the experience of being invited to a private room, separated from her group, and under duress to participate in entertainment for VIP guests in vivid detail. She alleged that she was subsequently offered a 5-figure compensation in exchange for her silence. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Perhaps the most incriminating testimony yet was provided by a former bodyguard who was employed by Diddy from 2014 to 2020. He asserted that he escorted high-value individuals to and from Diddy's properties and indicated that some of these meetings involved illegal activity. Under oath, he disclosed that he was directed to clear specific rooms of electronics and that he had been compensated for disposing of a woman's phone, who subsequently withdrew from the industry. The consistency of the testimonies was what truly shocked the courtroom, rather than their content. Intimidation, control, secrecy, and systemic cover-ups were depicted in numerous stories and were nearly identical. The facts and testimonies in 2016. Prosecutors were aware that they required tangible evidence despite the potent impact of emotional testimonies. Forensic accountants who had been operating discreetly behind the scenes for years were recruited. What were their conclusions? Various shell companies and consulting firms received more than $20 million in unexplained transactions from Diddy's corporate accounts. Numerous of these organizations were registered to post office boxes, lacked a staff, and lacked an online presence. Numerous individuals were associated with those who are currently listed as potential witnesses or accusers. In one instance, a woman who subsequently withdrew a civil suit against Diddy was identified as the recipient of a $750,000 wire transfer. Although legal settlements are not uncommon in celebrity circles, the individual stories, timing, and secrecy of the agreement raised significant concerns. The paper trail was illustrated with transparencies that depicted transactions that appeared to be intended to evade IRS detection. These transactions were frequently deconstructed into smaller transfers, converted to cryptocurrency, and subsequently transferred through offshore wallets. Hidden connections. Who else was involved? The trial also suggested that citas powerful figures operating behind the curtain, as if Diddy's alleged offenses were not enough. G and P. Just depends mentioned or agent rathers the defense. Denial strategy. Diddy's defense staff has initiated an offensive strategy. They contend that the trial is nothing more than a cheekers of tria, affording witch hunt, which is fueled by opportunists and disgruntled former employees who are seeking money or fame. They have accused prosecutors of hatting, character assassination by association, K, and have cited the absence of direct physical evidence that connects Diddy to multiple accusations. Additionally, they depicted numerous witnesses as unreliable, affording action began, citing their prior criminal records, financial disputes, or inconsistent statements. Diddy's team maintains that the parties in question were not criminal in nature, but rather extravagant celebrations that were comparable to those hosted by other personalities. Public reaction. The internet is divided. The public is profoundly divided outside of the courtroom. Diddy is still being defended by some, who see him as a victim of a system that is anxious to undermine Black success stories. The trial is perceived by some as a fried, long overdue reckoning. As a prosecutors and the happy idled, he decide to this dispensational concerns with primarity to arouch their malaria, as a powerful individual is ultimately held accountable after decades of silence, NDAs, and payoffs. Social media has evolved into a battlefield. Trending hashtags include Diddy trial and Furdo. Influencers, erstwhile collaborators, and even a few A-list celebrities have issued cryptic posts, with some expressing their support and others distancing themselves without comment. Stored what happens if he is convicted? Nothing could be more important. Diddy could potentially be sentenced to 60,000 pounds, decades in federal prison, if he is found guilty of the most severe charges, which include sex trafficking, narcotics distribution, and conspiracy. In addition to the criminal sentence, the collapse of an empire is a significant issue. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives, and drop a comment with your thoughts. You also do so